Jay Sekulow, President Trump's attorney, as well as chief counsel for the ACLJ. Thank you for joining us this morning, Jay. Can you weigh in on the moment? As we know, Judge Kavanaugh is currently at the White House, meeting with his team, discussing the steps forward. Your thoughts this morning?
Well, I think, look, there's a process that goes forward on a judicial confirmation. It's set forth in the United States Constitution. The president has the authority to nominate someone to the Supreme Court of the United States. It's Brett Kavanaugh. Then the Senate's role is advice and consent. They can have hearings, they make a determination, and they could vote yes or no. There's been an allegation now. So what happens is, I think Senator Grassley's done it correctly, and that is he's opened it up for an additional hearing to determine if, in fact, there's any basis upon which Brett Kavanaugh should not be confirmed. If the accusation or the accuser, here Dr. Ford, does not testify, I tend to agree with the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. At that point, I don't know why you would have a hearing. If she does testify, then Brett Kavanaugh should be given the opportunity, he will be given the opportunity to defend his position and make his statements. So I think, look, there's a straightforward process here. It's going to be implemented. It's going to be followed. That's what our founding fathers envisioned in the determination of the Constitution. That's why the Constitution works, because we have these various branches of government and separation of powers, and it allows for this process to move forward. So there's been an allegation. There's a way for that to be handled and vetted, and that's what's going to take place
if she does
in fact, the accuser goes forward.
If she does, in fact, go forward and sit down and also answer questions under oath on Monday at a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. So what happens then? She gives her side of the story. He denies the allegations. It's he said, she said. What happens then?
Well, then the individual members of the United States Senate make a determination as to whether they are going to vote to confirm Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court of the United States. That becomes a job for the senators based on the evidence that they've heard. And they will make a determination as to veracity and truthfulness. And that's the way the Constitution's set up. So in that sense, again, it falls back to the process. And I think what Senator Graham has said, what Senator Grassley has said, allows for a process to move forward in an appropriate way and an expeditious way to get this resolved one way or the other.
What Senator Grassley also just said is that, and we just showed him live speaking on the Senate floor a few moments ago, saying that we should have never gotten to this point, was how he concluded his remarks there, in this manner at this time. He said that the reason we are here lies solely at the feet of Senate Democrats who saw a political advantage in leaking this to the press instead of vetting through proper channels. Do you agree with that?
Well, I tend to agree with the Senator Grassley because for two reasons. Number one, if the information was gathered back in July, why was it not put forward? Number one. Number two, in a situation like this, to literally spring it on the week of the vote shows the politics of it. Now, having said that, there's been an allegation. So the proper approach is to let that allegation be vetted by the Senate Judiciary Committee. That's who should be doing the vetting here. That's who has the constitutional authority to do the vetting, and I think that's the way this moves forward, and that's the appropriate way for it to move forward. So if, in fact, the Dr. Ford shows up and decides to testify, and then Judge Kavanaugh will have a chance to respond, then the Senate will weigh that and make a determination. And that is the way the Constitution is structured.
Obviously, the president's looking on, and he's saying everyone should be heard. The White House has maintained their stance on that, as far as I can tell, since the beginning. And we heard from Kellyanne Conway yesterday. Mercedes Schlapp was just on the program a few moments ago. The president's got a couple big meetings today. We'll likely hear more from him later. I don't know if on this or not. But that's been the position of this White House from the beginning, since these allegations surfaced, right, Jay?
That's right. The allegation's been made, vetted out in the appropriate process. The process is, again, very straightforward, and that's what should be utilized. So there's no surprise here in this sense that when something like this happens, the way the process is set up, it can be handled within the process, and that's the way it should be. An allegation's made, the Senate makes a determination of veracity, of truthfulness, and then they make a vote, and they either confirm or they do not, and that individual's either confirmed to the Supreme Court or not. And that's the way the process is set up. That's what the Constitution envisions, and that's what's going to happen here.
Right. So to continue to update our viewers, Kavanaugh's at the White House. Still no response from Kavanaugh's accuser on whether or not she will be there on Monday. High expectations that she will be. So we'll see how this all plays out. Meanwhile, other big news. In the middle of all this, the president decided to declassify these key FISA documents related to the Russia probe. Jay, what does all this mean?
Well, this means the American people are going to find out what this was, what started all this, and what was going on. And I suspect what they're going to find that this was not only is a rigged investigation, as some people have called it, but that it may be much, much worse than that. In that the allegations that may come forward, I haven't seen the documents, obviously, they're being declassified now. But if what we're hearing from the media is correct, that what was going on was, I heard on your network last night, possible surveillance of the campaign by either government agents or others, this would raise not only serious legal issues, but the illegality of what was going on here, and that's the basis for this entire inquiry. I think it raises a whole new host of serious issues that have to be addressed at the forefront of why we have an inquiry going on now for, if you look at it from the standpoint of when this started, now going on 2 years, because it predates the Bob Mueller investigation, and there's been no collusion, there is no collusion, and then you got Lisa Page saying there's no collusion, and then you wonder, how did this whole start? Well, I think we're about to find out, and between that and the FISA declassification, I suspect the American people, we'll see soon, are going to be in for a real awakening here as to what was going on. And I think it will be a significant moment. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what's in the documents, obviously, but everything I'm hearing from your colleagues is that this will be significant.
And what we do know is that which documents will be declassified, including the FBI reports on interviews with the Justice Department official Bruce Orr, the reports and interviews prepared in connection to Carter Page and the surveillance of him, and also all those text messages, the number of text messages tied to key players in the Russia investigation. He wants those without redaction, President Trump. So, Jay Sekulow, really great to have you on the program. Hope you come back.
Thanks.
Thank you.